We don't know why she's just not waking up. 1 whole week in the hospital. I don't even remember it. Turns out I had like 1 whole week when I was on feeding tube and everything.
Hi, my name is Sherry. My diagnosis is vasculitis, and I hope to share more about vasculitis and autoimmune diseases today.
Hi, my name is Ross. I have lupus or SLE. So what I hope to share today is more about invisible conditions and how the community can help people with this unseen condition.
So I think an invisible disease is where one looks typically healthy, because I think in our minds it's very clear cut. If you're sick, you must be in bed. And if you're out and about, then you're not sick. And invisible illness is where we actually have symptoms ongoing every day. We do have like pains, aches, fatigues, we have to take lots of medications, but yet people cannot tell.
I think that with invisible diseases especially, right, when it comes to diagnosis, it's extremely hard because you don't really see what's happening underneath the skin. One day I was casually mentioned, oh, I'm so tired, my bones ache. And then my sister is like, why does your bones ache? So that was when I realized, oh wait, that's not normal. Lupus in general is very hard to diagnose. So I actually fell sick when I was around 19 or 20. So how lupus works is that my immune system gets confused. They attack my own tissue, organ, and in my particular case, they attack my gastrointestinal system. So for a while, I couldn't keep any food down. So we went to doctors, and all of these doctors just thought that it was a stomach flu. After a while, the other symptoms started kicking in, and I couldn't keep water down. So there was this huge episode when I was in poly. I was doing my last year, and I couldn't breathe. And the school sent me to the hospital, and everyone in the hospital, they thought that I was bulimic. They actually told my parents that it's best to send me for psychiatric help instead. And they were interviewing like a lot of my friends, just to make sure that I'm not bulimic. So I fell sick even further. I couldn't even get out of bed. It came to a point where I realized like, this is not how I want to live my life. And after that, one team finally cracked it all. That was when they told me, okay, so it turns out that you have lupus.
So I was the same age as you.
1920?
Yeah, 19.
Okay.
Yeah, still remember. Mine was an acute incident, but a year before that, I had this like reddish patch on my knee. It's not itchy, it's not painful. Then I went to the skin, so it's National Skin Center, and they just said it's some scientific name, nothing to do about it. But 1 year later, I was, as usual, just sleeping. Suddenly I just woke up because the entire left leg was like, the pain is like so, it's so incredible that it woke you up. So I remember that I limped like to the living room. Then everybody was like sleeping. Then I was like, oh, what do I do? 19 years old, very sheltered. I think eventually fell asleep, but when I woke up again, then it was, now I know the term, but it's called a left foot drop. So literally the foot just like that. Okay. And then you can't control it to move up. So, but you can still walk. So I went to the GP, but the GP took a look and he was like, okay, you need to go here and eat. Your diagnosis is vasculitis.
Okay.
So it's an autoimmune disease. And in my case, it was the blood vessels in my feet, which also affected the nerves, which then led to the foot drop. After that, like all the flares, then different symptoms came out. And then that was when I realized that, wow, this is a really lifelong, right? Chronic.
Life-changing.
Yeah, life-changing. It really shifted all my perceptions of like what career I would do, things like that. The different part about my day from everyone else is taking the 10 tablets of medication. I would say that it's very hard to judge on a day-to-day basis. It's really about the overall. Do I have to cancel the next day's activities?
With lupus, the sun tends to have an effect on us. I break out in hives, but the hives is very different because it burns. And it would sting. And I'll have joint pains and fatigue.
For me, was like during flares, deep ulcers will form like on the feet. And then no matter what you do, how much you rest, it still goes on. And then after that, it will break down and then it will like have the very big open ulcer. So I think those were really very hard times to cope. It's the nerve pain that really can drive you crazy. I remember I even went to skin center and I think they tried to treat it with, I don't know, some iodine or powder. It was burning like.
Oh no.
And then I thought that was normal, I was like, okay, like tahan. Because it's good. I think I cried and cried and cried after I got it. And then I went to my GP, which I know him for a very long time, and he was like, okay, this is not right. I think that period of finding the right care for the ulcer was really terrible.
You've had an idea of how your life will be. It's like, oh, I'm going to take over the world. Yeah. And all of this comes hitting you, right? You're not like everyone else. It took a while to be accepting of the condition, to realize that, you can still live your life. You just have to live it in a different way. So it wasn't until I guess when I met my husband, he was the first person actually that I kind of openly shared about this kind of stuff. I guess there's also that sense of guilt. Making your family go through all of that. They had to live with the fear that they might lose their daughter, And even now, they're still very much afraid. Yeah, so every time I go to the doctors, if I have a blood test coming up, and then they'll be calling, how is it? Is everything okay?
I think I have very little memories of my childhood, except I think the word is, I guess it's somewhat carefree. You just remember you can run around, kind of do whatever you want. Sometimes I grieve the future that I never had. Yeah, but actually I would like to say that I felt like the disease made me braver. Like me and my husband, we joke about it. Life is short, morbid, we're all gonna die.
Yeah, so when it comes to my career, I was on fire. Whoosh. After a while, it kind of helped me to figure out what is the important things in life. At the end of the day, you've gone through all of this, you've gone through all of this pain, discomfort. You've actually had to deal with the idea of mortality, right, at such a young age. So it really makes you kind of ask yourself, so what is important right now? So I took a leap of faith, quit my job at that point of time, slowly tried to figure things out. I started an e-commerce with my dad. Yeah, so most of the time, I'll try to use humor to make it into a much more approachable topic. So I would always tell them, oh yeah, so lupus is this thing where my immune system gets bored, so starts whacking my own body. When it's work, and then it's more of, oh, okay, so what can you do and what can you not do? How much can we expect from you? But nobody really asks oh, okay, so how can we help?
I think people like to suggest solutions.
Oh.
They don't know how to react. So maybe in their mind, they I want to help, but I don't know how to, so I'll come up with a solution have you tried this? Have you tried that? Have you tried?
Or the best kind. Or maybe it's psychological. It's all in your head.
Yeah, I mean, if they're genuinely interested to hear, I think we definitely can feel. Also really not to rush in with solutions sometimes. I think a lot of times we are really not looking for a miracle cure. Probably we just want empathy.
And sincerity. It's fine to ask some what was the experience like, or if you really want to know, does it hurt? Don't try to school us on it.
Imagine it's someone you haven't met and then you tell the person and the person is like, are you eating healthily? Oh my god, I hate this question, or even if because this is a total stranger and maybe you're not going to meet this person again, maybe how can I support others in the same situation? I think would be a great question to ask.
Most of the time, what I do try to tell them is to not let their life get defined by this condition. You still need to live a life and to always listen to their own body.
But I really want to tell people not to give up on their lives, and that their lives is more than the pain, the symptoms. I think I always told myself that there's always a light at the end of the tunnel.
There was something that my mom also told me, that really stayed with me. God will only give you challenges when He knows that you are strong enough to overcome this. So He already knows that you have what it takes. So rise up, chin up, you can do it.
It is your life, so you cannot give up on it. I think this topic is often left unsaid because chronic conditions, especially autoimmune diseases, are extremely complex.
At the very crux of the matter is that this is an invisible condition. There's a lot of things that's going on underneath the skin.
A lot of people think that if you are sick, you must be in bed, you must be lying in bed, you must look very sick. But actually a lot of us are just coping the best way that we can.
I think that there's a lot more empathy that is needed from the community.
Yes, it is important to share about our disease and how people can support so that people understand.